Good morning. Today we will be working on solving systems by substitution and elimination. This is actually part 3. There is a prior video on just substitution, one prior on elimination, and this will be choosing which method you decide to use. This is Algebra 1 TEKS A.5C. Solve systems of two linear equations with two variables for mathematical and real world problems, and today we're just going to work on mathematical. So we're going to start with taking the same problem and trying to work it out with substitution and elimination. So this just goes to show that you can use either method. So with substitution, you're going to look for an equation that has a 1 coefficient. So in this case, I have 1s here, and I do have a negative 1, but if I have a positive 1, this is better. So your choice to either solve this bottom one for x or for y. I'm going to go ahead and solve for y. Well, how do I solve for y? I subtract x on both sides. So y equals 4 minus x. Now I'm going to take this 4 minus x and I'm going to plug it into the first equation, but with parentheses. The reason for the parentheses is because I need to distribute the 3 to everything in the parentheses. Okay. Next step is to distribute negative x plus 12 minus 3x equals 20. Combine like terms. Okay, the terms I combined was negative 1x minus 3x, and I got negative 4x. The next step is subtract 12 on both sides. And then divide by negative 4. I have solved for my x value. Now you're going to go back to the equation that you already solved for. You can actually plug this in here, or you can even plug it in here. Since that one is already solved for y, the black one that I wrote, I'm going to go ahead and plug it in there. So 4 minus negative 2 becomes 4 plus 2. My answer is y equals 6. Your final answer needs to be written as an ordered pair. Negative 2 comma 6 is the only ordered pair that'll make both of those true. Now we'll try an elimination method. Elimination method, you're going to look at making sure that the x's are lined up, the y's are lined up, and you're going to try to cancel out a variable by looking for the same number but different signs. In this case, it's already set up for us. So on this one, if I do elimination, those are gone. Now I'm going to add the two equations together. I have 4y equals 24. Divide by 4 on both sides, I get y equals 6. Now you're going to come back in and pick an equation to plug that into. You can do either one. This bottom one has 1's coefficients, and so it's always easier to work with 1 coefficients. So x plus 6 equals 4. Subtract 6 from both sides, you get x equals negative 2. My final answer is negative 2, 6. Which method did you prefer? So a lot of times people prefer substitution because we've been using it for a long time. And substitution is a good method, and sometimes substitution is easier. But guys, as you can see here in this case, sometimes elimination is easier. So we can't say that we prefer substitution because it's easier. It will not always be. We can't say we prefer elimination because elimination is sometimes easier and sometimes it's not. So now that you see that you should get the same answers doing it either method, we're going to go ahead and pick a method to use on these problems. So it's going to be your choice what method you see. So on this first one here, do we do substitution or elimination? What do you think is easier? So for elimination, we're looking for the same number but different signs. And if they don't have it, you can create it. I don't have it. For substitution, you want a 1 coefficient. Well, I have a 1 coefficient. So in this case, I'm going to use substitution method. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2x to both sides. I end up with negative 13 plus 2x. Okay. I'm going to take this and I'm going to plug it into this y, always making sure that when I substitute something in, I put parentheses around it. I need the parentheses because I need to distribute into my parentheses. I have 3x minus 26 plus 4x equals 9. Combine like terms, you get 7x minus 26 equals 9. Next step is to add 26 to both sides. We get 7x equals 35. Divide by 7, we get x equals 5. Now remember, you have a choice at where you're going to plug in the x equals 5. You can plug it in here, here, or here. If you choose the one that you already solved for, it actually ends up being a little bit easier because the y is already isolated. Negative 13 plus 2 times 5. That's negative 13 plus 10. My y value is negative 3. So my final answer is 5 comma negative 3. And remember, this is the only ordered pair that's going to make both of those equations true. So again, your choice for the next one, substitution or elimination. Well, right away I don't see any one coefficient, so substitution would be a little bit harder. But I do see the same number with different signs. Therefore, looking at this problem, elimination would be easiest because I can already add these equations together. So the negative 2x and 2x, they actually, you eliminated the y variable. And now you have 5x equals 15. Divide by 5 on both sides, we get x equals 3. Pick either one of the equations to plug that into. I chose the top one, not for any specific reason. Okay, multiply. Subtract 6 from both sides. And divide by negative 2. My final answer is 3, 2. So now, your choice on doing substitution or elimination. What method do you think would be easier for the first one, and why do you think it would be easiest? Okay. In my opinion, I think elimination would be easiest. And why do I say that? I don't have any one coefficient, so already substitution, I'm like, okay, substitution is going to be a little bit harder. And I look at these numbers and I say, you know what? If I solve for y, I have to divide by 4. That does not divide by 4. If I solve for x, I need to divide by 3. That does not divide by 3. So this one is very, very ugly for substitution, okay? And that goes on both of these. So I'm going to choose the elimination method. Now, we know for elimination, we're looking for the same number with different signs, and neither one of these have this. So I can make these have the same number but different signs. So I can choose x's or y's. In this case, if I choose x's, I only need to multiply the top equation. So how can I make the positive 3 turn into a positive 6x? Well, I multiply the whole equation times 2. Okay? So that 2 is going to go to all of them. I wrote it behind it just because I have room. So positive 6x minus 8y equals negative 76. So it's one extra step, but now I can add these two equations together. Negative 6x plus 6x have eliminated each other. Then I have 3y minus 8y. I get negative 5y. And 51 minus 76 is negative 25. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. I get y equals positive 5. Now you can choose which equation to plug that into. I'm going to go ahead and do the top one again. Not because I thought it was easier, just because if they both look to the same difficulty level, then it doesn't matter which one I plug them into. So I substituted it in, multiplied, okay, add 20 to both sides, and divide by 3. My final answer is negative 6, 5. Now go ahead and pause this video and try the next one on your own, and when you come back, the answer will be there. Okay. The answer I came out to was negative 4 comma 1, and I actually did choose elimination. So what I did is I did not see a 1 coefficient, so then I started looking at, can these coefficients be the same number with different signs? And I noticed that if I multiplied this equation by 2, I would have a negative 4y, which would eliminate with the positive 4y. Okay, so I crossed off this one to not confuse us, and so I'm not using that one anymore. I'm using this one, which is basically like an unreduced equation. Then I added them together, and I got 3x equals negative 12 divided by 3, and I got x equals negative 4. Then I substituted it back into the top equation. So I substituted it back in for x. I got negative 28, then I added 28 to both sides. Then I divided by 4. I got y equals 1. And there is my answer. Okay. Again, elimination or substitution. Oh, this first one is really, really easy. I'm actually going to choose substitution. Why would I choose substitution? Guys, the y is already solved for. My y is already there. So I'm going to take that y value and I'm going to go back into my top equation and plug that in place of y. Don't forget, the whole point of this is to get rid of one of the variables. When I substitute that in, I no longer have a y there. Distribute the negative 2. So 2x minus 6x plus 35 equals 7. Combine like terms. The next step is to subtract 35 from both sides. Next step is divide by negative 4, and I get x equals positive 7. Now I'm going to come back to the equation that was already solved for y, and I'm going to plug that 7 into the x value. So y equals 3 times 7 minus 17.5. So y equals 21 minus 17.5. Y equals 3.5. So my final answer is an ordered pair, 7, 3.5. Go ahead and try the next one on your own and freeze the video. When you come back, the answer will be there. Okay. Hopefully you got 12, negative 14 for your answer. I saw that this might have been a good one for substitution because I saw a 1 coefficient. But guys, even if you had chosen elimination and made these the same number but with different signs, remember that your answer is going to come out the same. So here is the work that I did for substitution. Okay. So now we're going to do elimination, and we're going to do it with explanation. So in case you're having a proof of what you did, we're going to actually put this into writing. Okay. So the first step was to, it says elimination. So the first step is to look for the same variable, but with different signs, and I don't have it. So I look at x's. Are x's easy to make the same, or are y's easy to make the same? Well, it doesn't matter. So least common multiple of 2 and 3, because I'll just go ahead and do x's, would be 6. So I need both of them to turn into 6, and I need one to be a positive 6 and one to be a negative 6, which my signs are already there. So my first step is to multiply the top equation by 2 and multiply the bottom equation by 3. Okay, that's my first step. Okay, the next step is going to be to add the equations together. Okay, so I went ahead and added the two equations together. The next step is to divide by -1. At this point, you have found your y variable. The next step is going to be to substitute the y into either equation. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the top equation. So I'm going to substitute the y value into one of the equations. The next step would be to distribute or multiply the 4 times 1. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 1. The next step would be subtract 4 from both sides. So I would subtract 4. 19 minus 4 is 15. The last step for this problem is to divide by 3 on both sides. So when I do that, I get x equals 5. So my answers that I have found is 5, 1. So your final answer is your x, y. So in case you need to do steps or proof, you would write out what you were doing, and you could write the steps along with it. Okay, so that's what's going to be expected here if they're asking you for an explanation or what steps did you use to solve it. Now I want you to actually try one of these on your own. You're going to do elimination method, and we want explanation. Now, you might choose a different one than I choose, and that's okay. The answer comes out the same, but let's see if you can go ahead and explain why and how you did what you did. So pause this video here, and when you unpause it, my answer is going to be here with the way I would have worked it out. Here is the final work for this. Now guys, actually we did the same exact problem earlier in the video, but we actually used substitution. So this was a good chance to see another, doing the same problem but a different method. So here are the steps that I used. Go ahead and check your work, see where there was any confusion, see if your steps matched exactly. The wording might be a little bit different, but in the end it should come out the same. Hopefully this helped with substitution and elimination. If you enjoyed the video at all, if it helped you understand when are ways we choose substitution over elimination, then I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up, and if you'd want to subscribe to this channel, and I will be posting more educational videos. Thanks and have a great day.